Peach Pundit, the podcast, is a conversation filled with the personal opinions of the people who are participating. Any view or opinion expressed belongs only to the person who expressed it and not with anyone with whom that person is professionally affiliated.
Hot debates in the Georgia sun. Talking politics ain't always fun. Fireworks fly like a rebel's call. Peach Pundit's here to cover it all. Peach Pundit, join the ride. Opinions blazing, we don't hide. Grab a seat, let's break it down. Peach Pundit's the best in town.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another Peach Pundit, the podcast. I'm sorry to do that to you, to make you listen to that 2 weeks in a row, but it's growing on me.
Yeah,
It's growing on me.
I mean, we're in Atlanta.
Well, you're in
I mean,
Atlanta.
we're not just the. I'm in the exurbs. I'm in the
Yeah.
exurb. So are you. You're an exurb. Cherokee's an
yeah.
exurb, not a suburb. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's true.
that's
true,
for us
but-
big government Agenda 21 types who think about such things.
Oh, my name is Scott Turner. I'm joined tonight by Buzz Brockway. You are listening to Peach Pundit, the podcast. We are going to tell you tonight about our take on the All-Star game.
Yes.
What we are now officially calling the Frostopus.
I came up with that moments ago.
Yes,
Because
the Frostopus.
as we'll discuss, it's like tentacles just going all over the place.
Everywhere. And the connections, it's conspiracy theory territory. But we're also going to talk about the House Study Committee on Election Processes holding its first meeting.
Good times.
The Democratic nominee for PSC, Kemp's,
Who?
telling our state agencies how to handle federal cuts in the budget. Trump's anteing up the situation with Russia and Ukraine. And, of course, we got to talk about the Epstein files just because Donald Trump doesn't want us to. All that
Stop
and more.
talking about the Epstein files.
All of that
That'll work.
and potentially more on this on the other side of this break.
Peach Pundit has an anonymous Patreon who would like to invite you to learn more about the Alzheimer's Association. The Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. No one should fight Alzheimer's alone. With your help, no one will. Learn more on their website, alz.org.
Golden Retriever Rescue of Atlanta, GRRA, is an all-volunteer, tax-deductible charitable organization. They are dedicated to providing veterinary care, comprehensive evaluation, and foster and adoptive homes to golden and Labrador retrievers who are abandoned, mistreated, neglected, or left in shelters throughout Georgia. We encourage you to visit their website grra.com and help connect people and dogs that need each other in their lives. You truly can make this world a better place by helping find homes of gold for these golden-hearted pups.
So today's podcast finds me on the road yet again at another conference, although I do believe the Wi-Fi here is far better than the Quality Inn that I was experiencing in downtown Savannah. But if I'm choppy for whatever reason, I'll apologize ahead of time and blame the Wi-Fi. But Buzz, I struggled last night because yesterday was a busy day. We're going to talk about the House Study Committee on Election Processes later, but I was at that, and then I had to get on an airplane, and watching the All-Star game on the Delta screen in my seat back in front of me. What are your thoughts on how the All-Star game played out?
Well, I mean, I guess first the political aspect of it. There were plenty of Georgia politicians, and rightfully so, from Governor Kemp on down the line, pointing out how the All-Star game should have never been taken away from us in the first place.
Right.
That we never got our apology.
Right.
And we didn't change the law. So there was an interesting moment where a reporter, you've got some players up there. You had Dave Roberts, the National League coach, I think it was Paul Skeens, and there were a couple other players,
Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee was kind of emceeing it, a press conference, and people asking questions, and some little reporter wearing a mask. Kind of, I mean, it was an obnoxious question, but I think if you're on the left and you're really upset about this, it's a fair question. What changed in Georgia that suddenly made it not the evil, toxic place that Georgia is, filled with hate and Jim Eagle and all the other stuff that we were accused of?
Jim Crow?
Nothing. Nothing
Right.
changed.
Nothing changed.
Nothing
You know what
changed.
changed? No, this is what changed, right? From the moment they took the All-Star game away from us for passing that legislation to today, several elections have been run. That's what changed.
Yes.
And now we have real data to show
Yes.
that it didn't do the things that they had said. And the
Right.
media, certain aspects of the media, have tried to cling to this idea that SB 202 has somehow disadvantaged African Americans in Georgia. But every lawsuit that has challenged that has found that that's not the case. And Terrence Moore decided to write an article in Forbes today saying that Dave Roberts ruined the All-Star game because he refused to acknowledge what he acknowledged back in 2021, and that him saying that he's just going to focus on playing the game was ruining the All-Star game. That's what Terrence Moore said.
Well, look, let's just say Terrence Moore. I don't know if there's an Atlanta-based reporter who hates Atlanta more than Terrence Moore. Political reporter, sports reporter. That guy is the most negative. Why he's still on TV or writing anywhere, I don't know. He hates everybody and everything about Atlanta. Always has. All the way back to his days when he reported for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So
right.
Phooey on him.
Right. I mean, so he pointed to an article that Mark Nisi had written over a really long time ago. I forget exactly how, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That Nisi had pointed out that the turnout numbers that we saw have increased since the passage of SB 202. Now, one of the reasons why SB 202 has had a positive impact on voter turnout is because it's made it easier to vote for everybody. And Nisi had made the argument in his AJC piece that it helped white people more than it helped black people. Like, I think the premise was that it helped both black and white people, but it helped white people more.
Okay.
Because white turnout was like 3% higher than what black turnout increase was, right? But it still increased African
Who's
American
moving
turnout.
to this state? I mean, are more white people moving into Georgia? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe they should dig that up before they start throwing around accusations.
But that's to answer your original question. That's what's changed. What has changed is we now know it's not Jim Crow 2.0.
Yeah.
And these people who want to cling to that are the type of people who politicize brands of toilet paper. Right? Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not. You're not.
It
does point out the hypocrisy of all these sorts of things, like Major League Baseball doing this, because if Atlanta is such an evil place and not worthy of a All-Star game, should the Braves be allowed to play any games in Atlanta? Should the franchise be stripped away from us? I mean, it's just the whole thing. All this sort of stuff is just silly and ridiculous.
If our legislature was passing laws to target African American voters, MLB should step in and move that team to Florida.
Yes.
Put it in Jacksonville. Put it in Alabama. Or shoot, I mean, put it in. They're thinking about putting a team in Salt Lake or a team in Charlotte. I mean,
Raleigh wants a team.
Right. So you could still fill the Atlanta market. You just take it away from the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
And you would still have the media market. But they're not going to do that. And they gave us back the All-Star game, Terrence, and everybody else, because the law didn't do what you said it was going to do.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Show me where Brian Kemp and the legislature caved and said, oh, you're right. Here you go. We'll undo it.
That being said, what a game.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
And the Braves, whoever put their program together for the Braves.
Yeah, the honoring of
team
Hank Aaron.
Of people. Oh, my gosh. We'll
It's
get to that in a
great.
second, but it started pregame.
Yeah.
The entertainment pregame was quintessentially Atlanta.
Yep.
I mean, this guy, Kane Brown, for those of you who may have tuned in before that are in the chat, they're Patreons. Our Patreons are allowed to participate by watching us live backstage. They get extra content. If you want to be a Patreon, head to patreon.com/peachpundit. Sign up for one of those tiers. Everybody who is at the $10 level gets to watch us live. If you want to be at the $5 level, you get to participate in the Signal chat in honor of Pete Hegseth. But the Kane Brown version of Georgia on My Mind is what I was listening to before Buzz got here. And that just, man, I could listen to that over and over and over again. It just touches me.
Yep. And then the
It's,
Zac Brown band singing the national anthem did a
oh my
great
gosh.
job. And I loved the as the players are being announced in the starting lineups, you had Jamie Dupree and Ludacris out there with a bunch of choreographed dancers, and and then they broke into "Welcome to Atlanta," where the players play. It was just this is what uh, this is what the NFL should have done the last time the Super Bowl was in Atlanta. Have an Atlanta-based. We have such a rich history of music and entertainment
Oh my gosh.
that you just in 5 minutes you can have a complete program put together of just fantastic entertainers that live
Major
and
League
call this
Baseball
home
definitely
city,
showed up the
home.
NFL on this, man. And then one of the most emotional moments came when they recognized home run number 715 by Hank Aaron. I've never seen anything like that on a baseball field.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was I saw Mike Bell, one of the hosts on 92.9 The Game. He was in the stadium and caught the stadium level view of it and just said it was fantastic. And he was asking folks how it looked on TV, and it looked awesome. It just looked awesome on TV too. So
it did.
And then
I mean,
they had the photo of Billy Aaron kind of standing there, the camera behind her. She was watching them pay tribute to her late husband, and
then
great.
the rocket launch that they had from home plate out the left center where the home run went. Oh my gosh. It just, look, I got goosebumps just thinking about it. They did such a great job. Such a great job. Too bad it happened this year instead of back in 21, but we'll take it because it was amazing. Every aspect of that game was awesome.
And it was and the baseball. It's the baseball game itself is just great. I loved the Scott. I don't know what you think. You remember a few years back there was I mean, it's this is a break for these players. You don't really want a game that goes on and on and on into the night like sometimes baseball games can if you're tied. And so there was an all-star game where they just said, well, it's tied after 9 innings. Good night, everybody. And that was controversial because, no, that's not baseball. There's no ties in baseball.
There's no tying in baseball.
Right. And
are you tying?
There's no tying? The kind of sort of borrowed from soccer, right? You have instead of a shoot-off, like in soccer or hockey, you had a home run off, and first two, I guess it ended up 4-3 National League in the home run.
Thanks to Kyle Schwarber coming up clutch.
I know, and there was I forget her name. There was one of the ladies who are huge Braves fans was saying, I have to cleanse myself after sitting in Truist Park cheering on Pete Alonso and Kyle Schwarber. That's just, that's a one-time only deal. And
well, it's the All-Star game. We're allowed to give fans a pass for rooting for their rivals. Hey,
kudos, well done to Major League Baseball and the Atlanta Braves. And,
well done. Bravo. Do it again.
Absolutely.
Let's do it again next year. Let's play 2.
Yes.
The Frostopus.
Yes.
There's, we go from something completely awesome to something so incredibly heinous. The Frostopus has reared its head today for several reasons. Number one, we found a tipster, an eagle-eyed tipster sent us several hours ago. I had to track it down, make sure it's real. Plus, I'm working today, so
Yeah.
it took
Yeah.
me a little while to get it posted to our Twitter. But Brant Frost V, who we shall henceforth refer to as Cinco.
Okay.
Okay.
I like it.
Because when we're talking about Brant the Fourth and Brant the Fifth, I think Quattro and Cinco, I'm just going to start calling them Quattro and Cinco. So Cinco
There we go.
has set up, as of July 3rd, a brand new lending company called Heartland.
Well, Scott, Seth Daniels, who is a listener to this podcast, pointed out that this was submitted filing date of June 26th, 2025. That if I'm correct and Seth is correct, that's the day before they announced to their investors that
I think it's the 28th is when they announced to do.
Okay, just a couple days before.
Yep.
So this is it's become to light now because it takes time for the Secretary of State's office to process these things, right?
I don't know what Cinco's thinking. Like, first of all, if you're going to be in the lending business, where are you getting the money to lend?
Yes,
dude. Like, I have made inquiries to the Secretary of State's office asking, where are we with this whole thing? And the Secretary of State's office only reply is, this is an ongoing investigation. We are not free to comment.
Yep.
That's fair. But me being me, I followed up with, is it a civil or is it a criminal investigation? And the answer was, it is an ongoing investigation, and we are not at liberty to comment.
They'll go wherever the facts lead them.
Exactly. And I'm fine with that, but I'm going to keep asking for y'all, because this thing is running deep. It is running really deep. The Frostopus is the perfect name for it, Buzz. You're brilliant for coming up with that, especially coming on the fly. But we do have some other news. Today, the receiver in the case, a gentleman named Greg Hayes, has published a letter. We're going to link to this in the blog post that accompanies this podcast, but I want to read parts of it to you. And I'm going to have to shrink this in order to open this because I'm on my laptop in a hotel room. All right. This is dated today, July 16th, as we record. Dear investor, as you may have already heard or read, on July 10th, the United States Security and Exchange Commission filed a lawsuit in federal court in Atlanta, Georgia, against Edwin Brant Frost IV, Frost, and all of his companies. He goes down. I'm going to skip a bunch of it. Our investigation is in the very early stages. My lawyers, along with my professional staff, and I are working to gather as much information as we can. Frost has admitted that aspects of the business were improper and has publicly stated he will assist the receiver in recovering assets for the benefit of investors. Comments he has made to the media are included in the television stories posted on my website. We are in the process of marshaling the assets, which include bank accounts, real estate, business interest, and loans owed to the receivership entities. In addition, we are recovering money donated to politicians who received funds. Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffesnperger has called on political entities and politicians to return donations received from First Liberty, the Frost family, keyword family, or any of their affiliates. Raffensperger is urging recipients of these donations to return the funds to me as the court-appointed receiver so that victims can be compensated. A link to the Secretary of State's notice, blah, blah, blah. Because of the significant amounts of investor money paid to the receivership entities, the number of investors in the period of time during which the offering was conducted, this is a complicated assignment and requires the cooperation of investors. We'll provide a claim form in the near future, request that you complete and return as soon as possible. We request that you provide copies of any supporting documents, such as check copies, front and back, wire transfers, and correspondence. So all that information. Our investigation will take months to complete, identify, manage, collect, and liquidate the assets, and determine the amount of the distribution to investors and creditors. We may file additional litigation. I realize this news is devastating to you and difficult to understand. We'll do our best to keep you. I skipped a paragraph that I really wanted to include, which is, as we undertake this effort, you should understand that all of us who are involved in this investigation recovery effort are paid out of the assets that are the subject of the receivership, and
Mm.
our fees are reviewed by the SEC and the court. Based on our experience in cases like this, we know that the investigation and administration of this receivership will be expensive. Our goal is to spend time and money wisely. Therefore, in virtually all of our planning and recovery efforts, we will take cost and potential financial benefit to account. He has set up a website. That website is cases.stretto, stretto.com/First Liberty. He is also encouraging anybody to contact them through the website. And if you have to call them, there's a phone number, 404-926-0060, and you can email him. But if you do that, it's going to take up his time. It's going to run up the cost of the receivership. So just don't waste the dude's time.
Yes.
Let's try to keep his time focused on the job at hand so that these victims can get as much as they possibly can back.
Yep.
So that also happened today. That website, again, is cases.stretto.com/First Liberty. It's got some basic documentation there currently, but is likely to be updated with all kinds of stuff as the story continues to unfold. So I would hit refresh on that especially if you're a victim, to make sure that you have the latest and most accurate information that you can get.
Yep.
That's our public service segment of this story. But good Lord, I mean, how many dumb things can you do in a shorter period of time? I mean, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I will say this too. Stay tuned to us, because I told you in writing and on the podcast that we're going to go through a bunch of stuff, and we're going to, on the political side especially, try to find where they were spending the money, who was getting what, when, and for what. And my initial investigation to this point is leading me down several rabbit holes that I feel like I need to adopt a conspiratorial mindset, grab a cork board and some red string, and start connecting these things.
Yeah. What's that meme of that guy with the yarn going everywhere? And he goes, look,
yes,
this is just,
it keeps going. It keeps going. The Frostopus name is so perfect based upon what I've seen so far.
Well, Scott, let me just add this. You and I, we don't have an axe to grind. I have no personal beef or animus toward the Frosts. You and I, we don't see this. If I'm incorrect, you correct me. We don't see this as an opportunity to take down anybody, to destroy the McCoon regime.
What does he have to do with it?
Payback, payback for all those people who did this, that, and the other. And we have no axe to grind with anybody.
No, this is our posture.
I don't. How would anybody know? Okay, other than Quattro and Cinco, how would anybody else know what was going on behind those? All you saw were a couple, a family that wanted to be very influential in politics, and did the things. Hearing some nasty stories about how they treated various people. I was never a recipient of that mistreatment, and I frankly. I mentioned last week, all Quattro ever did was call me every now and then and tell me his plans for my life, which I summarily ignored. Maybe that's why I never was the recipient of anything else. I did talk to a legislator this week who told me several years ago, after he won his primary, that he received a call saying the Frost family wanted to give him maximum donations, and he thought, I don't know you. No, thanks. I'm good. Thank you. Right. And, that was a wise, a very intuitive and discerning on that individual. And I'm sure that's the case of lots of other folks. And I don't hold anything. I don't think any less of Brad Raffesnperger, Greg Dolezal, any other folks who have received money who are good, normal Republican politicians who have received money, because they weren't aiding. They weren't in the part of any sort of scheme to take over Georgia Republican politics, like it appears that unfortunately the Frosts were. But
Our posture is this. This is our posture here at Peach Pundit, right? We have the list of names of people that have received money. We have the list of organizations. That this is all in public documents,
yes.
by the way. But as you go through the public documents and you start connecting dots, and the string keeps going, it goes pretty deep. But our posture is this. We know the names, and we're going to give everybody time to work with the receiver.
Yep.
And when the receiver makes his report in 60 days to 90 days, as he's outlined in that letter, I didn't read it out loud, but that was part of the letter. His initial report is going to be is due in 60 to 90 days. If he hasn't received money from these people, we're going to make him famous for all the wrong reasons. And I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. I have talked to some of them. Some of them have proactively reached out to me to say, please just understand I'm going to do that. And that's fine.
Right.
And that's, we're not in this to make people look bad. Our posture, in addition to that, is to try to help any way that we can, to leverage this platform any way that we can to help the victims get back what they have been ripped off by these people.
Yep.
And that is what I want to do. I want to be helpful. I don't want to, I'm not in this to destroy the Frost. They did that themselves.
Right.
They don't need me piling on. They don't need Peach Pundit or Buzz or anybody else piling on. There will be opportunities for us to tell the victim stories because I think those stories are worth telling.
Yep.
I want them to have the opportunity, if they want to tell us how they got conned, how they got snookered, because there is a lesson to be learned for other people, because these Ponzi schemes, unfortunately, are not all that rare.
Right.
I mean, the Madoff one, it was historic. This
because
one,
of its size.
right. It's $140 million is nothing to sneeze at.
No.
But by telling these stories, it could be yet another example to others of red flags. As much as we talk about it, maybe somewhere down the road, we're additionally helpful because somebody hears what we said or read what we said, or somebody sends a link to somebody who's thinking about investing with somebody in an opportunity that's too good to be true. And they can say, well, here are some red flags, what we got on Peach Pundit. I don't know if that will ever actually happen, but we're going to do that exercise anyway.
Yep.
And because I feel an obligation to my neighbor in this, and in the generic sense, not anyone specifically, to try to be helpful, to use what I have to help them.
Yep.
So that's our posture.
And I know, Scott, you read the since we last produced a podcast, the SEC filed that paperwork, which led, of course, to the appointment of the receiver that you just talked about. And it was, as I can recall, about 26 pages. It's not too terribly long, that outlined what in just a few days the SEC found that the Frosts are, Quattro is alleged to have done. He's the only family member named in that document.
He's the only one named in that document.
Yes.
But the receiver said that he's going after assets of the Frost family.
Well, because, Cinco and other family members worked for the enterprise. So, unless they had other sources of income, you could make the case that any donation or anything that they did was fruit of the poisonous tree, of the alleged poisonous tree. They're still innocent until proven guilty.
I don't know how
here,
alleged it is at this point if he's admitted that aspects of the business.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if we're free to now say it's done because there's been an admission of guilt.
Yes,
at least in some way.
But it lays out, how, and it's interesting reading if you're interested in those sorts of things, and I am. I always enjoy crime dramas, and here we have a crime drama unfolding before our very eyes. But it just became a desperate plea for more and more and more money. And I don't know. There's some interesting stuff in there. The Frostopus had tentacles all over the place, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions asked in the coming days.
Hard questions and conversations will be had.
Yep.
Another hard conversation started yesterday in room 341 at the Capitol. The House Blue Ribbon Study Committee on Election Processes held its first meeting yesterday to a packed out room, and there were plenty of activists in the crowd. I was invited to testify to the committee to give them a plaintiff's perspective on Republican National Committee versus Eternal Vigilance Action in a case that I was proud to serve as one of the plaintiffs in. And Stuart Morelli from Legislative Council went before me, and Brad Carver from the RNC went after me because he was the attorney for them, and at least initially in the case. And it was a very interesting experience. I've never actually had a genuine interaction with Salleigh Grubbs before, who is the erstwhile chairman of the Cobb County Republican Party and has been a source for some of these rules that the state election board adopted that we sued over. And before the meeting started, she came up to me and introduced herself.
Yeah. And
I said, "It's a pleasure to meet you." And she said, "Thanks for taking down my rules." And I'm not embellishing that impersonation whatsoever. And I laughed.
Yeah.
I laughed at her and I said, "Well, it wasn't personal." And she walked away and she says, "Well, it felt that way." During
Scott,
my testimony. Yeah.
I was just gonna, Scott, the point of your lawsuit was to say there is a process by which laws change, and it is not through an unelected board that exceeds its authority. And the court came down on your side and said that no, cannot do that.
I'm going to clarify.
Right?
The court came down on my side 9-0.
Right.
9-0. Of the 7 rules that we challenged, 2 are still outstanding because James Hall has to pursue those on his own. I don't have standing to pursue those. If it was up to me, I'd be pursuing it.
Yes.
Because I want the question answered, right?
Yeah.
But because of standing issues, those 2 rules, they're poll watcher rules.
Right.
And daily reporting rules. The one that was upheld was actually the one that I sort of agreed with. But we challenged it anyway, just because I felt like it had gone beyond what the legislature had specifically laid out. The court did not agree with me on that, but I liked that rule, which was videotaping drop boxes.
Right.
I sued over something I liked.
Right.
Right. Because the people that made the rule didn't have the authority to make the rule. And ultimately, that's the one out of the 7 that we sued over. That was the one. The other 4 got tossed.
Yeah.
And I explained why. There's that new 3-step test in place for these things and how it reestablished the non-delegation doctrine. And I also pointed out I was not the only Republican here.
Right.
That we were supported by sitting member of the legislature, former members of the legislature, all Republicans, Republican attorneys, Republican activists who signed on to an amicus brief supporting our case, saying this is a separation of powers issue. We explained what DOT v. Atlanta was and how DOT v. Atlanta was the Georgia version of Chevron and how for 40 years we have, as a conservative movement, railed against the Chevron deference decision and that it needed to go. And we all celebrated when Loper Bright overturned it. I pointed that out. And Salleigh Grubbs videotaped me during my thing and tweeted. Her first tweet was that I'm a paid lobbyist for Eternal Vigilance Action, and that the committee should consider that before taking anything I said to heart. Which I retweeted her saying, "This is bullshit. Sorry, Miss Laura. I am not a paid lobbyist. I represent my employer." And so we got into a back and forth. And I kept telling her, pass a bill. Like, that's it. Just go pass a bill.
Yep.
You know, these are common sense rules. Why are you targeting? This is my favorite one, right? Because I explained it in that the case had dozens of pages about standing and who had standing to sue over election law and how important standing is in order to sue.
Yep.
And she's like, why didn't you sue behavioral health instead of the state election board? I don't have standing to sue behavioral health.
Right.
I've never dealt with behavioral health.
What do those
Maybe
guys do?
you have, right? Maybe you have standing to sue behavioral health because you're crazy and you need help.
But this is what's so frustrating. There are plenty. Colton Moore could drop a bill in January and could have dropped a bill 2 years ago when they started all this mess to do all this stuff.
Right.
And if she's right that it's just simple common sense, salt of the earth ideas, they would have sailed right through and gone and become law. But that requires hard work. That requires relationships and actually talking to people in public hearings and so on and so forth.
Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the power of the idea is good enough, right? I mean, if it's really common sense, the legislative process is easier when it's common sense.
Right.
But maybe, just maybe, some of them aren't common sense. And one of those was the inquiry rule, which I pointed out during my testimony that that anybody who tells you that a local election board should have discretion over whether or not to certify the result doesn't understand what the importance of certification is for legal challenges.
They're the same. It's the same thinking that Donald Trump would have been president in January 2021 if Mike Pence had had the courage.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Right.
But for those who don't understand,
overstep of the role that Mike Pence and an election board is in.
Right. So in this particular case, the way certification works legally, right? And because standing, we've been talking about standing. You have to prove that you've been harmed in order to go to court. Well, certification is the thing that unlocks the courtroom for aggrieved candidates if there's an error or if there's fraud or if the election tally was not accurate.
Right.
There's nothing in the law that prevents a local election board member from telling a candidate you should go sue because these are the problems with this election. There's nothing that prevents that. But they can't go into the courtroom if they don't have a reason to sue. That reason is the tally. So what you are doing is locking candidates out of their ability to seek justice because you don't understand the nature of what certification is and why it's important. Without it, without a certified tally, there's no way to resolve fraud. Because you can't do it outside of a courtroom.
In fact, Scott, I personally know a case where an elections board member, a candidate lost that I knew. He received a call from a member of the elections board who said, "Hey, something fishy happened. You need to call so-and-so in the elections office and talk to him about it and see if that's something you should pursue."
Right.
So he called me and said, "What do you think?" I said, "Call him." Absolutely. No harm in finding out. They called him and they checked into it and it turns out it was nothing. But that's, that election board member was doing the right thing. He said, "I certified the election. Something didn't smell right to me, so I called a candidate and gave them the information that I saw and who to talk to. And then it was up to the candidate to decide, do I pursue this through all the various legal channels that are available?"
And that's a quality that we want in our local election board members. That proactive. I'm not just going to sit back.
Yeah.
I'm going to contact the candidate. That is a quality you want. You want that type of proactive action.
You want them to understand the process.
Yep.
To observe have eyes wide open.
Yep.
And then pass information along when they think it's warranted. In that case, it turned out to be nothing. But people do make mistakes. Election mistakes happen. Election fraud happens. Nobody's asking these folks to just sit blindly by and just push a button and say yes.
Right. But she left out that part of my testimony when I testified and I said that part about this is how you get into the courtroom.
Yeah.
She left that part out. And she made it seem like I was okay with a fraudulent election, which I called her out on that too. Listen, here's the bottom line. All of this stuff, there's a process for this. And if you're a constitutionalist like I am, the process matters.
Yes.
And why does the process matter? because I recognize that one day my preferred party is not going to be the ones in power.
Yep.
Members of my party are not going to be the ones who get to hold the levers of power in this state. And now is the time when we do have a power to protect the system as it's supposed to be, with limited scope, limited power, limited authority, because I do not want Democrats in charge who will one day, it may not be soon, but it will happen one day. I do not want the Democrats of the future to have rulemaking authority like what was exercised by this state election board last year.
Yes.
That is a terrifying concept to me.
Yep.
And it should terrify you if you're a Republican.
Yes.
It should, and you should not want the state election board to have this type of authority or power.
Well, Scott, I was going to tune in, but it was late, and I saw that it had gone on for close to 6 hours.
Oh yeah.
And I said, forget that. So I gave ChatGPT the transcript and asked him to tell me what happened. And yeah, that's I'm not sitting through 6 hours. Bless their hearts. Chairman Tim Fleming and all the other folks who were on that, bless their hearts.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Well, we have an exciting second half of the podcast coming up. Before that, though, we're going to have a couple messages including from our friends at Americans for Prosperity. Go to americansforprosperity.org and check out all the different events and opportunities they have for you to get involved. They are all over the state. They're doing candidate trainings. If you're interested in running for office, they have opportunities for you to get involved in the grassroots level. If you want to go door knocking, if you want to learn how to do the phone banking, they are an amazing resource for grassroots advocates in Georgia and beyond. Go to americansforprosperity.org today. Go sign up for their newsletter. Go sign up for their events. See if there's something on the calendar coming up that you want to attend. They're everywhere in our state, and they're doing great work for the conservative cause. Thank you to our friends at Americans for Prosperity for being a partner-level Patreon. If you too would like to be a patron to the podcast, again, you can do that at patreon.com/peachpundit. The signal chat today for our Patreons was bumping. It was pretty lively in there today. So at the $5 level, you get to join that.
Conservatives Concerned is a network of political and social conservatives who question the alignment of capital punishment with conservative principles and values. Our programs include educating conservatives about the failed death penalty system and mobilizing them to bring about its end. We come to this issue for a variety of reasons. Some believe that small government and the death penalty don't go together, especially when we compare the high costs of capital punishment to life without possibility of release. Some don't trust the state to get it right. We already know that some innocent people have been sentenced to death, and for others, it may already be too late. Some believe that the death penalty contradicts our values about protecting life. Find out more at conservativesconcerned.org.
There was an election yesterday. Did you hear about it?
I did, actually. And what's funny is near my house, on the street in which I live, there's a polling place, but it's not my polling place. There's probably 4 or 5 polling places within about a mile and a half of my house. So yeah, I saw the flags and the things saying, please come vote. And next door was a flame with, don't you understand how important this election is? I was like, yeah. I couldn't pick up a ballot because I voted in the Republican primary, and this was a runoff for the Democratic primary. But Scott, I was interested to hear what you thought. How many dozens of people voted across the state of Georgia yesterday? Dozens of Democrats.
Roughly 110,000.
Oh, okay. It's more than I thought.
Yeah.
They cracked the 100,000 barrier.
They did. They did. About 70,000-ish voted in person yesterday.
Yeah.
And the early and absentee ballots ended up pushing it to about 110,000.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Peter Hubbard, who is now the Democratic nominee after a stupid runoff process. Peter Hubbard probably would not have won without the runoff, to be honest.
Yeah.
Keisha Waits had a significant lead on him after the first round. Our former colleague in the House, former state representative, former city council member,
Right.
Keisha Waits, and Keisha just couldn't get it across the finish line in the runoff.
Yeah.
Peter Hubbard is apparently a Green New Deal type of guy, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Rough Draft Atlanta labels him a clean energy advocate.
Yeah, Green New Deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll translate progressive to conservative. He's a Green New Deal guy. So Fitz out there. Fitz Johnson is the Republican nominee. We got to get him across the finish line.
Scott, I do have to laugh. The reason we have Public Service Commission elections this year and not on the normal cycle is because Democrats sued, saying that the structure of the Public Service Commission was racist and was keeping African Americans out of that that body.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Democrats just nominated a white guy
over a black woman
to take on the only African American member of the Public Service Commission. So
you have nailed it.
I'm sorry, Democrat Party Georgia, don't lecture me about how you care about race. It's about power. You sued because of power.
Yep.
So it had nothing to do with race. The racial composition of the Public Service Commission had everything to do with power.
You had an opportunity to nominate a black woman. You went with a white man.
Yeah.
And he's facing off against a black man who is a Republican, and you're all going to rally around the white guy.
Yeah.
So let's stop with the pretense.
Yes.
Can we? Do you think?
No.
You think we can?
No. No.
They'll never give it up, right?
Because Charlie Bailey, flipping back to the Frostopus, Charlie Bailey was lecturing Republicans about receiving money from the Frosts. I was looking up, trying to find out how many Democrats returned money that Sam Bankman-Fried, a similar situation that he took money from one enterprise and gave it to his other enterprises to further his aims, leaving the investors in that first enterprise, FTX, high and dry, to I don't know, tens of millions, $70 million. It rivaled, a stunning amount of money. Not many Democratic candidates or Democratic organizations. The Democratic Party of Georgia, by the way, received around $10,000, I believe, from Sam Bankman-Fried. I'm hoping they're cutting that check to give that back to the victims of Sam Bankman-Fried while they lecture Republicans about the Frosts.
Shut up, Charlie.
Frostopus. Yeah. And now
Charlie,
they're
shut up.
And now they're going to lecture us about, oh my goodness, how come there's no African Americans on the Public Service Commission when they're trying to take a guy out? So,
Charlie, when your version of Brad Raffesnperger calls on all the Democrats to give money back, we'll take what you have to say.
Do they have one?
Even then, as a grain of salt.
Maybe Jeff Duncan is their version of Brad Raffesnperger. How about that? Did I just blow your mind?
No, I think you just did Brad Raffesnperger dirty. You need to owe him an apology now. Hey, you need to call Brad right now. Like, we're stopping the podcast so you can pick up the phone and call Brad and apologize for that nonsense. Why would you do that to him? You're just mean-spirited, Buzz.
Apparently. Sorry.
Sorry, Miss. Shut up, Charlie.
Sorry, Miss Laura.
Charlie Bailey, shut up. Yeah. We got this. We were not, and I say we, not just me, but the Republican Party, even the Republican Party is set across money. Like I forget, I failed to say this earlier now that we're back on it, but you'll notice on the Peach Pundit Twitter account that we immediately praised the Georgia Republican Party because a source with knowledge called me this week to tell me they had met and were going to set aside money to return.
Yeah. They
had identified money they'd received from Frost, I think Quattro specifically, and that they were going to, when the time was right and the mechanism was in place, they were going to return that money.
Yeah.
And I immediately went to Twitter on the official Peach Pundit account and praised them for that, telling them it was well done. We got this, Charlie. Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. In other news, no segue. Brian Kemp is telling state agencies to freeze spending, bracing them for federal spending cuts. Mm-hmm. Did you see this story?
I did. Yes.
Raul Bali had it on Twitter at NPR. Georgia Public Broadcasting.
Yes.
Tell us what you know.
Well, just that there's a memo on the governor's budget website that you can read if you want to see the full instructions, but Raul laid it out. And I think this is very wise of Governor Kemp because there haven't been many cuts. There certainly hasn't been as much federal spending cuts as I would like, but there have been some. And agencies that receive those need to be preparing. Now, I think the good thing is the state of Georgia still has a heck of a lot of money. The rainy day fund is full and is overflowing, and
Another budget surplus coming.
Yes. So I don't think that there will be Georgia will be in any trouble. But I did note it was of interest in Raul's tweet that the governor didn't necessarily promise to backfill those cuts that might be coming from the federal government. So tighten your belts, folks. Again, I don't know, but it does raise some issues. There's all sorts of things that we need to examine. Like, for example, Memorial Day was not long ago. I live near Lake Lanier, humongous destination for folks on holidays, especially in the summertime, to hop on their boats and go have fun. There were a bunch, because of quote unquote federal budget cuts, there were a bunch of parks closed. Why are those? This is in the state of Georgia. I understand the Army Corps of Engineers controls the water flow in Lake Lanier, but Representative David Clark said that he intends to introduce legislation to begin the process of the state of Georgia taking over those federal parks that exist in and around Lake Lanier, and let us run them. It's in the state of Georgia. We should run them. We don't need the federal government running tiny little parks and beaches along Lake Lanier. We can handle that. So right. I'm all for federal cuts, and this is a great opportunity for the state of Georgia to examine our relationship with federal money and eliminate it, and when it's not necessary, and pay for what we want to pay for, and return money back to the taxpayers of the state of Georgia and the United States of America. So
tangentially, I loved this article that came out since we podcasted last. I tweeted about it. It came from the AJC, and it was about the budget surplus that we're going to have again, because revenue numbers continue to go up. And the AJC made this point in spite of the fact that Republicans keep cutting taxes. Revenues continue to go up. What is this black voodoo magic?
Now,
have you ever heard of the Laffer curve?
Well, Scott, I tossed out the Laffer curve. I was at Ben Scafidi, brilliant professor, conservative economist at Kennesaw State University. I was helping him out with a class, and I tossed out the Laffer curve, and he was like, "Buzz, no. We don't talk about the Laffer curve anymore. It hasn't really borne out to be true." But nevertheless, I think you're right in that Georgia's a growing economy, and that's why our people continue to move here. Our businesses are doing well, and so that's how you can cut taxes. And the Laffer curve may not be true across every part of that slope, as Ben Scafidi was telling me, but
it may be a little more compressed than the original actual bell curve. It's a spike, not a bell curve.
Yeah. Yeah.
At a certain point, you're going to have a drop off.
But when
we haven't gotten to that point.
But when you make but your central point there, Scott, I totally agree with. When you create a business friendly environment, when you get out of the way, when the government gets out of the way and lets our brilliant entrepreneurs and business people do their thing, then yes, you can decrease the tax rate and still get more revenue into the state of Georgia, and that's what's happening.
Yeah. So all of the people will die arguments made by the Democrats during the tax.
They even put a number
reduction.
on it. I think it was like 14 million people were going to die. So
yeah, that's like more than the population of our state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but all that to say, look, Governor Kemp is a conservative governor.
Yes.
He is governing conservatively. He's telling his state agencies, be
Yep.
prepared. It may not happen where we're going to backfill this, but so tighten the belt.
Yep.
As you said, this is what conservative governance looks like. It's responsible.
Yes.
It's not, the easy thing to do would be just to let it go.
Right.
And that would be probably popular because nobody would feel the pinch, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the popular thing's not always the right thing.
Right.
This is what a conservative governor is supposed to do. So it is what it is, as far as these agencies having to tighten their belts because those federal dollars may or may not be coming. We don't know, but it's responsible of him to put them on alert.
Yes.
To let them know this is something we're going to be dealing with.
Yep.
So kudos to Governor Kemp for continuing to be an excellent conservative governor.
Yep.
Switching gears some to the national and international intrigue. Donald Trump has had it with Vladimir Putin.
Yes.
He to love Donald Trump or hate him. I don't hate him. I support him when I think he's doing good, and I criticize him when he's not. And in this instance, he has given Vladimir Putin 50 days to end the war, essentially. He has said he's going to allow NATO to sell missile systems to Ukraine, which is a departure from his previous stances.
Yep.
And it really comes down to the fact I think he's just had it, right?
Yes.
Donald Trump came into office promising to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. And for those of us who are worried about the world order, who are also conservatives in the traditional sense, not MAGA, but Reagan-style Republicans, we worried that he was signaling to Russia, I'm on your side, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
He has departed from that. And I wanted to lift him up and say, good job. I don't know the 50 days. I don't know why he landed on 50 days. Or if the message to Russia was, go win the war within 50 days. but allowing NATO to sell these weapon systems to Ukraine is a huge breakthrough.
Yes.
And would help Ukraine defend itself from any future onslaught out of Russia. And I don't think Putin has been deterred at all at this point, but it's certainly a change in tone and policy for him to go in this direction.
Think about that infamous meeting in the Oval Office with President Zelensky sitting there, President Trump sitting there, and J.D. Vance coming at Zelensky and demanding that he be grateful, and just a fiasco because Zelensky fought back, and it was just a bad move. And think about how Zelensky since then has turned this relationship around. It could have gone really badly. He could have just walked out of there and said, goodbye.
I don't think he's in a position to do that.
No, but he could have, right? He could have said, forget you, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't. He turned it around. And so I think kudos to him. And yes, kudos to President Trump because it is kind of humorous. I heard a clip of President Trump when he was announcing this. And he was saying that Putin, words to the effect of, this is not exact quote, but kind of words to the effect of, that Putin's a nasty guy. He talks really sweet on the phone to me, and then at night he goes and does very, very nasty things. And it turns out Melania, the first lady, was showing him. I guess Trump clocks out at 5 o'clock and goes to the residence and chills. And Melania was like, look at this, look what your little buddy is doing, and showing him how Putin targeting civilians over and over and over again, targeting civilians, taking children, Ukrainian children out of Ukraine to Russia to indoctrinate them and turn them into little Russians who love Putin. So I've heard a phrase of some of the more ardent supporters of Ukraine that all praise and thanks goes to Agent Melania, who was their agent in the White House to help turn this thing around and and see Trump the way to see Putin the way they see him.
Right.
So very interesting. And I don't know why there's a 50-day pause. I don't think maybe it's Trump just saying,
Well, it's
you
a
got
tariff
one
threat.
more, chance, Bucko.
Yeah, it's a
And
tariff threat.
it's not gonna
So
change. Yeah.
so let's be clear. The president is not threatening to engage further militarily.
Mm-mm.
He's going to bring sanctions in the form of tariffs on any country
Yes.
that does business with Russia.
Yeah.
If they want access to the American marketplace, he's going to implement tariffs.
I support
Yeah,
those tariffs.
that's a far more strategic
Yes.
use of tariffs than blanket for everything for everybody, even our friends. Like,
Right.
That the friends part doesn't make sense to me. This makes much more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because you are trying to end a very violent, bloody conflict, and it's something I can get behind because it's also not directly on imports to America. It's if you're doing, it's leaving some leeway for those countries to decide what's more important, their economic relationship with Russia or their economic relationship with the largest
Yeah.
economy in the world.
Well, it's gonna the hammer's gonna fall on Germany and Europe. Honestly,
Right.
They're the ones
Right.
who are
Right.
doing
Because Germany, I think, is going to say, I got to go with my NATO ally on this because I can't afford to lose the American marketplace.
Yep.
That's what.
Yeah.
So I know I say you can't spell tariffs without FFS. We have that T-shirt in the merch shop.
Yes.
It's going to continue to be there because of the blanket tariffs. But
Plenty of
I'm going to
Germans-
give the president a pass on use of tariffs this way.
Plenty of Germans might be saying that soon.
Maybe. We're about ready to stop talking, but not before we recognize that the president wants us to stop talking about the Epstein files. I think it was you that sent me the
Yes.
was it a truth message?
One of his
tweet
Truth Social things, like just all caps, stop talking about Epstein.
and that was it. That was the tweet. That was the truth.
And it didn't work.
It didn't. No. Like, what are you thinking? Like you know that so many of your supporters have been following this, and they actually do have the cork board and the red string
Yes.
and the pictures. And
Yes.
they've been following. Like, you think your followers are going to stop talking about Epstein just because you put in all caps?
Too many
Stop talking about Epstein?
too many of his podcasting pals making money to stop talking about this.
This is, I mean, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. I did see Nikki Haley had, I think, the best idea, which was just redact the names, because one of the arguments that Pam Bondi is making, I can't release the files because it would give away the information of the victims.
Yeah.
We see files with redacted
Kash
information
Patel said
all
the
the
same
time.
thing, right? So
Redact it.
Yeah.
Give us something.
Yep.
Give us something.
Yep.
If you have to redact it. If it's personally identifying. But what happened? Why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail? If nothing happened, obviously something happened. You have to have the file about what happened. Tell us.
Yeah, I think that that's what's puzzling about this. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I know you're not either. There's a lot of wild one out there about Epstein and Tucker Carlson, the despicable Tucker. I don't know how any else to describe him. Just floating out there that he was a Russian, a Israeli agent. I mean, come on, with no evidence whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, you had this guy who had the ability to fly people by private jet down to this luxurious island where all these attractive young ladies are. And he had this unbelievable apartment, in Manhattan or wherever, incredibly expensive. And everybody was scratching their heads saying, where does this guy get the money? No. And so, yes, it all sorts of questions about this guy. And, we haven't got the answers. And as I said last week, Scott, all I want to happen is for those women to get justice. I suppose there's been a measure of justice in the sense that Epstein is dead, never to victimize anybody else. And
and Ghislaine Maxwell's in jail.
Is in jail, and she'll be there for a long, long time. So there's a measure of justice, but I don't know. You want some, I think Scott, maybe this will be the last thing I say about this, because we could talk for hours on this, all the ins and outs of all this. But I think why people are still talking about it is because the left is convinced that Trump's not releasing it because his name is all over this. The right is convinced that they'll be able to take down the deep state and people like Bill Clinton and all those, and Bill Gates and all those people that they hate. And maybe none of that is true. Maybe none of those people's names are in that. And maybe this is maybe this is less than it appears. And it's just a run of the mill scam operation by this guy who wanted to shake people down to get their money. And he used beautiful women to do it. That tale has been told 1,000 times throughout human history. And maybe that's all there was.
This is the only pushback I'll give you on that. If our goal is to seek justice, we know that there are men.
Yes. Some very powerful men are going to have to be brought to account.
Right. And we know that they know who they are.
Yep.
Right. So that's the client list.
Yep.
We know that there are men who committed horrific acts against these women.
Yep.
And those men are living free right now.
Yep.
And if you want an example of one that's super powerful, Prince Andrew.
Yeah. Well, right? I guess what I'm saying, Scott, is it doesn't go beyond that, in the sense that there's not this overarching conspiracy involving
that's not what I'm
the
saying.
Israelis or
not what I'm saying.
Intelligence operation.
I'm not in the Tucker Carlson camp, and I'm not in the Alex Jones camp. What I am saying is, we know that there were men who essentially raped these women who were being held against their will, and they were being pimped and they were being trafficked.
Yep.
And that those men who committed those acts against those women are free today.
Yep.
We know that there are a certain number of them out there. And I don't know that you really achieve justice until those men, regardless of who they are or their stature in our society or in the world, in some cases, are brought to justice right here.
Totally agree. That's what needs to happen. And I don't care who it is.
And this case is not closed because until every single one of those men is brought to account.
Yeah.
This case will never be closed until that happens.
Yes.
And if you're Donald Trump, I don't think Donald Trump's name is in it. I believe him when he says he gave him the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
And he decided to go the other direction. I believe that.
Yep.
I give him the president. I don't always give the president the benefit of the doubt on this. I'll give him the so I don't think his name is in it, primarily because I think Joe Biden would have gone after Donald Trump to keep him from running for president again.
Indeed. That would have been leaked out.
Right. It doesn't make sense that a Biden DOJ would not have gone after Donald Trump.
Yeah.
When the Biden DOJ has gone after Trump supporters. Over things. So I don't think it's about Trump being in it. I don't know why, though. The question remains, and I'm not going to speculate the answer either, because then I would be engaging in conspiracy theory. I just would like to see the men who committed the acts brought to justice.
Yes. Agreed.
That's it.
And I don't care how powerful they are.
Exactly. And I mean, it might shake up some things, but
those women deserve their day in criminal court,
100%,
not just civil court.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to an end of this version of the podcast. We want to thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Recommend us to a friend. Drop a comment wherever you watch or listen. That always helps us. If you'd like to join the people who rock, these are the people who reach into their pockets voluntarily every single month and give us $5 or more. And again, Signal Chat is probably the best thing we got going right now. I mean, it's so much fun.
It's fun
interacting with our listeners. But we want to thank those people. They are Ken Pullen, Bethany Ballard, Justin Wright, Sam Thomas, Jordan Reed, Shannon Ferguson, Jeff Cobble, Hank Burnham, Ryan Purvis, James Hall, Colin Martin, Tony West, and our friends at Americans for Prosperity, Stuart Wilkinson, Ron Daniels, Mike Buchert, our anonymous contributor who wants you to know more about the Alzheimer's Association, Bo Brannon, Ryan Graham, John Vestal, Reed Powell, Robert Lee, Bill Werkheiser, and Brett Harrell. Thank you, each and every single one of you. Thanks for listening to Peach Pundit, the podcast. I am Scott Turner for Buzz Brockway. Catch you next time.
Go Jackets.